we are delivering it. Sprouted buckwheat granola. So that's what we are making today. And although this is a very simple recipe, it requires several days of preparation because we are sprouting our own buckwheat. If you happen to find already sprouted buckwheat, then you can obviously skip this step. But we are not cheating here. We're going straight from the step number 1. So day 1, measure 1 cup of buckwheat groats and wash them. So under running water, cold running water, wash them up. Okay. And you're gonna get a big jar. Now this is definitely a much bigger jar than what I need, but I'm going to use this big guy because it will expand. Okay, and probably double in volume once you start soaking it and sprouting it. There we go. I'm gonna clean up my mess here. I don't want to lose any of these guys, so I'm going to just put them back in the strainer. Push them. There we go. Perfect. And now I'm going to just add filtered water. And you want enough filtered water to cover the grains. Or I should say seeds, because buckwheat is not really a grain, it is a seed. And all we'll do now is just set it aside somewhere on your countertop, and you will leave it for about 24 hours to soak. Our buckwheat has now been soaking for roughly 24 hours, and you can see some foaming and some cloudiness in the water. That's perfectly normal, so you don't need to panic. But now what we'll do is rinse it. So back to our strainer and rinse it under cold water. You want to rinse it well enough so the water that down is going through is running clear. Okay, that's how you know that it's well rinsed. And we'll leave it on the strainer. You need just a strainer that obviously won't let any of the grains pass through, and you need a clean kitchen towel. I'm just going to take the kitchen towel and I'm just going to set the strainer on. And I'm just going to spread the buckwheat around, so it's more like a single layer. Perfect. And you will let it sit. We'll let it sit for 2 days. Yeah, we don't just let it sit on its own. Every day you want to rinse it, so you'll basically repeat the process. You'll take cold running water, you'll rinse your grains, and then you will put it back on the clean kitchen towel. You want to set it in your kitchen somewhere away from a direct sunlight, but on a kitchen countertop is a good place to do it. Okay? So 2 days. I will see you in 2 days. We are ready. We are ready. Look at our buckwheat.
Look at the sprouts underneath.
Yeah. Well, I want to actually talk a little bit about sprouting buckwheat. Okay. So this one took about a day and a half to sprout, not including the soaking. So the soaking time is anywhere between 8 to, let's say, 24 hours. I know that's kind of wide range, but you don't have to be so precise with the soaking. But when it comes to the sprouting, you do want to watch it, because you actually don't want the sprouts to get crazy long. Once they get to the point where they are about the size of the actual seed, that's where you want to cut it, because afterwards it starts to release toxins, unwanted toxins. So that's just a little tip. And why go into the extent of sprouting your buckwheat? Well, there is enzymes inhibitors on every seed, including like lentils, beans, nuts, grains. And once you soak them, you're basically releasing those enzyme inhibitors. So it's going to be easier for you to digest, plus it releases more nutrients. Also with sprouted buckwheat, you're converting the starch into sugars, so it's easier again for your body to use up the nutrients from it. So that's just a little tip. Okay, so we have our sprouted buckwheat, and let's start with all the dry ingredients. I have about half a cup of chopped walnuts. And you don't have to use walnuts, you can actually use any nuts that you like. I like walnuts because they make the granola nice and crunchy, add a really nice flavor. I'm also going to put 1/4 cup of pumpkin seeds, 1/4 cup of sprouted sunflower seeds, and now some dry fruit. So today I'm choosing raisins. So 1/4 cup of raisins and 1/4 cup of goji berries. Goji berries will add extra protein into this beautiful granola. There's about 15 grams of protein in 1 cup of goji berries. Pretty incredible. And I will also add some spices. So today I'm going to choose cinnamon. So about a nice big teaspoon of cinnamon. You can also use dry ginger. You can use nutmeg. Maybe even cardamom would be nice. Okay, just gonna mix it all up and set it aside. Pretty simple, right? Now let's move on to the wet ingredients. So I'm going to start with 1 cup of apples. I pre-chopped them, I peeled them as well, but if you're organic, you do not have to peel them, just chop them and core them. So 1 cup of apple, just about 1 small apple. And I'm going to use some lemon juice. It's about half a lemon, if it's nice and juicy lemon. Actually, you know what? I'll use a full lemon. Why not? Why not? There. What you want is about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. And then I'm going to use coconut nectar. This is raw coconut nectar from the flower stem of the coconut plant. There we go. If you don't have this on hand, you can also use raw maple syrup. Pure maple syrup. It's not gonna be raw, it's most likely going to be heated. So if you care about making this granola strictly raw, then I would suggest to use raw agave nectar or the coconut nectar. The nice thing about the coconut nectar is that it has a lot of minerals in it. That's why I like to use it. It has a really nice flavor too. It's not overpowering, but it's nicely sweet. Okay, and then what I will do is just blend this. Okay, so, oh no, let me not forget.
I saw that.
Dates, so 1/4 cup of pitted dates. Okay, now I'm gonna blend it. For this job, it's best to use high-speed blender. So if you have Vitamix or Blendtec or like a Ninja Bullet, I believe it's called, those are the best options. But if you have just a normal blender, that's fine as well. So blend it on high. The consistency that we are looking for is something that resembles like an applesauce. If there is little chunks in it, it's not a big deal. It actually could be quite nice in the granola, but if you want it to be mostly liquid, so that way you can use it to coat the dry ingredients. And that's exactly what I would do now. I'll just pour it all in.
You can probably just save that and make a smoothie or something too.
For sure, I'm actually going to do that. And then we are just gently going to coat it all. I gotta go get a dehydrator sheet. Now it's time to place it on a dehydrator sheet. Yeah, we are making a raw granola, right? But I will also tell you how you can make it in the oven, just in case you don't have a dehydrator. So I'm just going to spread it. You don't have to be perfect with that, and actually leave some chunks because it will make nice snacking granola where you can just kind of grab it on a go. All right, so I'm just going to spread it. And that measurements that I gave you, about 1 cup of buckwheat and the rest of the dry ingredients, will fit on one dehydrator sheet if you're using Excalibur dehydrator. Perfect. And to be honest with you, I usually try to make different things for the dehydrator, so I'm not just running one sheet in the big dehydrator. So it's good if you do some kind of batch cooking or meal prep that day, and make crackers as well. Just try not to maybe mix savory stuff with sweet stuff. So if you're going to make granola and you want to make crackers, just maybe try to avoid like garlic or onion flavor for the crackers, so that way it does not mix together too much. It usually doesn't take on a strong flavor, but if you are quite sensitive and you really want your granola to be sweet and not have like a garlicky flavor, then I would suggest to stick with kind of the same flavors in the whole dehydrator. All right, so if you're dehydrating your granola, then you're going to put it in the dehydrator. For the first hour, turn the temperature to 145 degrees. And I know that goes against what raw food will tell you, because food that is heated over the temperature of 115 degrees is no longer considered raw, because it kills the enzymes or destroys the enzymes in the food. However, the first hour in the dehydrator, the temperature is not really going to come up to 145 degrees. It will heat up the dehydrator nicely. So after an hour, so set a timer after an hour, bring it down to 110. Okay. Once it's at 110, you can leave it in the dehydrator for about 12 to about 18 hours. It all depends on your dehydrator. So in our Excalibur dehydrator, it takes about, I would say, between 12 to 14 hours. Just check on it. So leave it there overnight. In the morning, just go and check on it. If it's according to the texture that you like it, the crunchiness that you like, then it's done and good to go. Keeping in mind that if you don't dehydrate your granola enough, if it's too moist, you need to store it in the fridge, because if you're storing it in a cupboard, it will start to mold because the moisture is not completely gone from it. Now, what happens if you don't have a dehydrator? It doesn't mean that you cannot make this granola. You can still make it, however, it's no longer going to be raw, but it's okay. It's still going to be very tasty. It's still going to have a lot of nutritional benefits. So instead of placing it on dehydrator sheet, just grab yourself a normal baking sheet, line it with parchment paper, preferably unbleached parchment paper. Spread the granola in a nice even layer. Put it in your oven at 350 Fahrenheit, and leave it there anywhere between 50 to 65 minutes. Watch it, especially closer to the end of the time, to make sure that you don't burn it. And that's it. That's this beautiful granola. So you can see it's pretty simple. Once you have the buckwheat sprouted, ready to go, it comes together very quickly. Busted.
Snacking.
13 hours later, we are done. How beautiful is this? So it turned out really, really good. The nice thing about this granola is that it stores really well. And so if it's a little moist still, as I mentioned before, store it in the fridge. It will last you for a couple of weeks. If you want it to last longer, just put it in the freezer. Honestly, like a handful of this granola about an hour before your workout, before a run, before a hike, it will give you nice sustained energy. It has tons of nutrition, so definitely give it a try and let us know how you like it. That's it.